Hello, my friends. I'm so thankful you have returned for another episode of The Morning Mindset. I know you have lots of options out there. Thank you for choosing The Morning Mindset. I hope that it's helpful. I would love to hear from you about how it is helpful. And I would also love to let you know there are some merchandise options that you can select, stickers, t-shirts, hats, those sorts of things, to pass the word along about The Morning Mindset. You can find those at careygreen.com/merch, M-E-R-C-H. So it's Carey Green, C-A-R-E-Y, green like the color, .com/merch. All right, we are diving back into the book of Proverbs, chapter 6. We are wrapping up the chapter today with verses 27 through 35. It's a pretty long section, so we are going to dive right in. Now remember, Solomon has just warned us about the very high and deadly price of being drawn in to an adulterous relationship. So a relationship with a person who is already married. And of course, there's the warning as well not to be the person in a marriage relationship who is seeking relationship or sexual encounters with people outside the marriage. And he's going to go on with that theme today. And he's going to give us more very powerful illustrations to explain why that is a terrible idea. Verse 27, he says, "Can a man carry fire next to his chest and his clothes not be burned? Or can one walk on hot coals and his feet not be scorched? So is he who goes in to his neighbor's wife. None who touches her will go unpunished." Now let's just stop right there. This illustration about fire and playing with the fire, holding it close to you, getting burned, that is a very vivid illustration. And he's saying it's exactly the same way when you go in to the wife or the husband of another person. No one who touches them will go unpunished. So there will be some kind of punishment that God himself will bring upon that situation, because it is an abomination. It is a wrong to God to violate the marriage covenant. Because if you remember, a marriage covenant is not just between a man and a woman. It's between a man and a woman and God. God is the witness. And it is a covenant that's being broken with him as well as with that marriage partner. Now let's go on. Verse 30. "People do not despise a thief if he steals to satisfy his appetite when he's hungry. But if he's caught, he will pay sevenfold. He will give all the goods of his house." Now you see, he's saying we are somewhat sympathetic to a hungry person who steals. But even they still have to pay the piper, so to speak, if they are caught. Now he's going on. And he says, "He who commits adultery lacks sense. He who does it destroys himself." Now he's putting this up against the imagery of the thief who stole because they're hungry, because he's saying a person who commits adultery, who's already married, isn't even as understandable as a thief, because he already has the source, the blessing of satisfaction that God has given him in his spouse. He already has the thing that he needs, and yet he's going out unsatisfied, seeking even more. And he says, "He who commits adultery lacks sense. He who does it destroys himself. He will get wounds and dishonor, and his disgrace will not be wiped away. For jealousy makes a man furious, and he will not spare when he takes revenge. He will accept no compensation. He will refuse, though you multiply gifts." So he's turned a little bit of a corner here in his illustration. He's saying, imagine the day that the woman who you're committing adultery with, her husband comes home and he catches you or he knows about it. Imagine his anger. Imagine his rage. And he will be wanting some sort of revenge. Now, this goes both ways, male or female. And what he's saying is just think down the road a little bit when these temptations come. Realize there is nothing so wonderful about the situation or the temptation that you can afford to pay the cost for that. It's just not worth it. Folks, we of all people need to be people of integrity in this as believers. So often we hear stories of pastors, but also others within the church who fall into sexual temptation outside of their marriage, and adulterous relationships begin. Friends, let us say in our heart of hearts, it will not be so for me. Let us say Jesus is worth so much more than that. The covenant I made before him is worth so much more than that. Let us be people who, by the power of the Holy Spirit, refuse to be caught in this trap of adultery. Jesus, only you can give us the power to be this kind of a person, the person who becomes impervious to an adulterous temptation and adulterous relationships. Give us wisdom to cultivate the relationships we have with our spouses. And if something's not right there or something's amiss and hard, give us the humility to go get help so that we can be protected